When Alexander of Macedon conquered the known world, he did more than win battles. He reshaped nations. And when he died, his empire did not die with him. It was divided among his generals. Kingdoms rose from the ruins of his ambition. The Greek language, its customs and gods spread. Slowly, even Jerusalem felt the weight of it. Generations passed. Judea came under the rule of the Seleucid Empire. At first, it was merely political control, taxes, governance, and foreign oversight. But then came a king who desired more than tribute, Antiochus IV Epiphanes. He did not want loyalty alone. He wanted uniformity alone. He believed that peace would come when all people looked alike, spoke alike, and worshipped alike. And so decrees were issued. The customs of the Jews were outlawed. The law of Moses was forbidden. The Sabbath was profaned, and the temple was defiled. Altars to foreign gods were erected in the holy city. Sacrifices which were unclean under the law were forced upon the people, and those who resisted were punished. Some complied out of fear, some compromised in secret, some fled into the wilderness. But others chose to stand, not with swords, not with rebellion, but with resolve. Among them was an old man. His name was Eleazar. He was not a soldier. He carried no weapon. He commanded no army. He was a scribe, learned in the law, respected among the people, advanced in years, dignified in appearance, disciplined in devotion. He had studied the commandments since his youth. He had taught them to others. He had watched kings rise and fall. Now, in the twilight of his life, he was summoned, not to advise, not to teach, but to eat what the law forbade, to publicly break covenant with the God he had served all his days. And he was offered a choice: pretend compliance and live, or refuse and suffer. This is not the story of a battlefield. It is the story of a conscience. This is the account recorded in the ancient text of 2 Maccabees, of an old man who would not pretend, and of a moment when integrity was weighed against survival. This is the story of Eleazar. The king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and the one in Gerizim, to be named after Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they desired. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. The temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. The altar was also filled with profane things, which the law forbade. It was made unlawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all, which the law forbade. It was made unlawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all, to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month they were forced bitterly to eat of the sacrifices. And those who would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles were to be put to death. 2 women were brought who had circumcised their children. They were openly led round about in the city, with the babies handing at their breasts. They cast them down headlong from the wall. Others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly were discovered by Philip, and were all burnt together. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth, and to eat swine's flesh. But he chose rather to die gloriously, than to live stained with such an abomination. So he spat it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. They that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh, taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his grey head, whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather, the holy law made, and given by God, therefore he answered accordingly, and asked them to send him to the grave. For many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old, 90 years, has now gone to a strange religion. And so they also through my hypocrisy, and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, would be deceived by me, and I will get a stain to mine old age, and make it abominable. For even though in the present time I will be delivered from the punishment of men, I surely will not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. I will behave such as one my age requires, and leave a notable example to the young, to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. After his words, they that led him changed the goodwill. They bore him a little earlier into hatred. Now when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned, and said, God knows the truth. He sees and understands everything. Even though I could have escaped death, I now choose to endure the terrible pain in my body, as I am beaten. But in soul I am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death as an example of noble courage, and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. If this story moved you, strengthen its voice. Like, share, and subscribe to Tales of Dust and Kings. The truth still matters, and every king returns to dust.